going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal, SpazPhoenix, the YWC Reality Check, back again with another Raw review now that we're getting back into the swing of things. Coming off of Night of Champions, and yes, Night of Champions and Raw being one day apart. Not everybody has seen my review, so if you want to go see my review, pause this, go back one video, check out my review. You'll see, I guess, what I thought of the show. But bottom line, not a very exciting show, but a lot of story progression and a lot of things happened that needed to happen. But, you know, the night after a pay-per-view, you know, Raw is usually pretty good, so what do we start off with? We start off with the new WWE Champion, Daniel Bryan, saying that how he feels can be summed up with yes. Little awkward. We know what they're going for. We know they're trying to get the fans to chant yes, but yes isn't really a feeling, is it? Oh, no, no, no. He comes out and he talks about, you know, this, that, you know, typical, hey, I just won for the first time type of speech. And he gets cut off by Triple H, who brings out Scott Armstrong. Scott Armstrong accuses Daniel Bryan of conspiring with him for the fast count for the WWE Championship, and because of that, Triple H takes away the title. Doesn't give it back to Randy Orton, but brings out a big new word, or a big new different way of saying that there's no championship. And he says that the title is held up in abeyance until they can, you know, figure their shit out, more or less, and everybody boos, and everybody's behind Bryan, and it, you know, does what it's supposed to do. Triple H demands that the title be handed over. Randy Orton comes out, RKO's Daniel Bryan. It is what it is. Then he gets in Triple H's face. We come back from the break. He's still in Triple H's face and Stephanie's face. And Stephanie McMahon does something that I absolutely love and says, we need the Randy Orton from back in the day, from when you couldn't keep your hands off Triple H, and when you when you handcuffed Triple H, you DDT'd me and kissed me while I was unconscious. We need that, you know, if there was any profanity allowed in the WWE, we need that son of a bitch back. If you want to be our corporate champion, you deserved to lose last night because you're not the Randy Orton that you were. Fantastic. Stephanie McMahon coming back as the $1 Billion Princess, Triple H in heel form, and Randy Orton back into heel form, even though he's arguing with another heel. All good on that front. All conspiracies lead to Daniel Bryan, and that's only good for Daniel Bryan. Thanks for taking the vacation, Cena. Anyways, I said it in my review last night of the pay-per-view. Cena missing, Sheamus missing, Big Show not around that much. Anybody miss them? No, not even you. Not even you in the very back row. That's very interesting. Very, very interesting. Ambrose versus Ziggler, we get a rematch, and I don't need to say anything else. It's Ambrose and Ziggler, obviously. I'm going to go out once again and say maybe tied for best match of the night. This is going to continue. It's going to be another U.S. title match. Ziggler's never going to win the U.S. title, is it? Because it won't do him any good. But to keep beating Ziggler to defend his U.S. title does a hell of a lot for Dean Ambrose, and that's amazing. Eventually, when Ziggler gets back in the doghouse, he can start chasing the title that he actually deserves. And it is what it is. I mean, if Daniel Bryan isn't successful, I mean, other than Alex and a couple other people in the YWC crying a little bit, maybe we can get Ziggler Orton for the WWE title? Maybe. No, I don't know. We see. Shouldn't do these videos right after work. Shouldn't do them in the morning. Shouldn't do them in the evening. Shouldn't do them right after. There's no good time to do a video, is there? Because friggin' right after work. That's what's going on. We see Triple H and Brad Maddox in the back talking about Bryan versus Roman is going to be the main event for later on tonight, and Stephanie in the background is, you know, berating the Big Show, and basically he's grounded for the night. He has to sit in the back until he's called upon. We have Fandango versus R-Truth. High point of this is a Summer Rae chant from the crowd. Not really much else to say. We had a Dusty Rhodes promo, and this was fantastic. This entire segment was fantastic, and I'm going to even give Big Show some credit on this one, because most people aren't, and, you know, it deserves to be said. Dusty Rhodes comes out, talks about how the McMahons have always picked on the Rhodes family, and they don't know what it's like to have hard times. They don't know what it's like to, you know, bring up two kids on a shoestring budget and see them succeed and see them have their success taken away. All this type of thing. Calls out Stephanie McMahon, because apparently Stephanie McMahon has a business proposal for Dusty Rhodes. And the business proposal is, I will give you your son his job back. Your job is to decide which son gets his job back. It's either going to be Cody Rhodes or Dustin and, you know, Goldust. And we're calling Dusty Rhodes Virgil. We're pulling out everybody's real name, because that's the... I guess that's the one thing I don't like about this promo, and it becomes a crutch a lot of time. When CM Punk did it to Triple H, it was effective because CM Punk was the fourth wall guy, you know, breaking down the walls, you know, calling everything, doing everything as a shoot. And when he called himself and Triple H Paul and Phil, it was effective. But this whole idea of, we want to show shit's getting real, we're going to call you by your real name. I remember back in the day, I remember Vince calling The Rock Dwayne one night before that was commonplace. And I'm like, it's not, people lost their mind over it, but it's not, it's his name. Anybody that wants to go and Google him is going to find out that that's his, I don't know. But yeah, she says, seeing as you can't choose between your sons, because Dusty Rhodes says, no, I'm not going to let you tear apart my family like that. I'm not going to make a decision like that. You can't line up your children and say, this one should succeed and this one shouldn't. And he makes comments about Stephanie's daughters, and it's all well and good. He won't make a decision, but she says, I've got a new decision for you. Brings out the Shield, who all have chairs, and brings out the Big Show. She says, you can either have a KO punch, or a WMD, or whatever they're calling it now, from the Big Show, or you can get the shit laid out of you with steel chairs 3-on-1 by the Shield. So Big Show sits there and he struggles and he struggles and he struggles and he cries. Now, the whole crying thing, I will admit, is getting old. I have on occasion considered, RVD's known as the whole effing show. I've considered calling the Big Show the Big Crying Show. But, you know, it is what it is. He's trying to sell how conflicted he is, and we all know Big Show's not an actor, so I cut him a bit of slack on this. Knocks out Dusty Rhodes, and it wasn't just a knockout, he fell down, whatever. He took the punch, and he crumpled in Big Show's arms, and Big Show, no! And it's dramatic. It's not going to go anywhere, because I don't think we're going to have a match between the Big Show and the American Dream Dusty Rhodes. I mean, who's going to run NXT if Dusty Rhodes isn't around, right, guys? Hey. Anybody watching NXT? Anybody? Other than Parkin and maybe John and Ashton? I don't know, because they resurfaced and are still relevant, maybe? I don't know. But, you know, NXT's still a thing. Dusty Rhodes is the GM. I don't know how they would write it into the NXT storyline if Big Show knocked him out on Raw. But I digress. Big Show chases off the Shield. Everybody's angry, and oh, the horrible McMahons. Moving on, Brie, Bella, and the Funkadactyls versus Oksana, Alicia Fox, and Layla, aka Team AJ, even though they're not really Team AJ anymore. I think it's really, really funny that on the drop of a dime, as soon as AJ Lee cut her pipe bomb promo on the Totally Divas cast, everybody on the Total Divas cast got unified. The Funkadactyls and the Bellas forget that they've been fighting for months and months and months and months, and they unify to defend their reality TV show. What's even better is I'm pretty sure this whole segment was supposed to build some sort of feud between AJ and Natalya, but Natalya had no microphone. I don't know whether that's kayfabe or not. If it is, and AJ supposedly cut off her microphone, then good for them. If it's just a chance for them both to cut promo on each other and they legitimately lost a microphone, that's kind of shitty. I don't know what to really say. AJ versus Natalya is the next logical feud. Preston and Alex said it, I believe, on the Wrestling Paradise channel. Let's start a hashtag for Where's Caitlyn? Because where the hell did that rivalry go? I mean, I know she teamed up with Ziggler, and then I know Ziggler got in trouble, so he's chasing the U.S. title. Where the hell did Caitlyn go? I'm just asking. And if not, let's bring up Paige. AJ versus Paige. It needs to happen. That's just what it is. Sandow versus RVD, and much as I like both guys, I could not be paid to give a shit because the match was kind of slow and this and that. Sandow is on the typical, he's got the Money in the Bank briefcase, so of course he's going to lose and lose and lose and lose and lose and lose until he cashes in. And the whole, he made his own briefcase. I get, dramatically, I get the value of him having to go out and get another briefcase, but in reality, it's like the Miz, turning the W upside down on the championship and calling it the Miz belt. It's like when Edge had the Rated R belt. It's like John Cena having a bling belt. Let's be honest. The personalized belt, or taking something that exists in general and the whole personalizing thing, because it's always done really lamely. Because it doesn't look like a leather-bound briefcase. It looks like a warped-ass chocolate bar. Let's be honest. And the whole handcuffing it to the ring after Cody Rhodes has been fired, which is the whole reason for that. None of it follows. I like Damian Sandow, and I'm jazzed as hell that Rob Van Dam is back, but nothing happened in this match. And then we hear, because we're in Cleveland, that my boy The Miz is getting his way. He's going to worm his way back into the WWE Championship picture, maybe, because he's got a match against Orton next. And it's like, okay, let's put some logic together. Orton's trying to get jazzed up. He's trying to get pumped up by the McMahons into this, you know, foaming at the mouth, you know, vicious, vile, emotionless monster that they want him to be. And Miz is in his hometown and his parents are in the front row. Miz is going to get owned. Now. Here's the thing. And I mentioned my good buddy Mark Pearson a couple of videos ago. And he, of course, is still taking his digs at me because I really don't know at this point. It seems like he can't bring up The Miz without bringing up me. Well, that was interesting, wasn't it? Can't bring up The Miz without bringing up me, which is fine. And he implied that I was sitting here bawling watching Raw because The Miz literally got the shit kicked out of him. And I'm going to say no to that. And I'm going to say no to that because the other guy on the other side of the ring was Randy Orton, who I have said has been buried and misused and buried and misused and buried and misused for ages, and now he's getting a push. So yeah, I'm a Miz fan. I'm also an Orton fan. So to have him have a dominant, destructive segment like he had with The Miz is great. Also, Miz sold it like crazy. He was a ragdoll for Orton. Had those, you know, spirit of a fighter, you know, never give up type moments before Orton owned him. The Miz in the hometown played the hometown guy, getting his beat down. Oh my God, look at that dastardly heel. He did that, and he did it quite well. And I'm very happy with what he did, and I'm very happy with what Randy Orton did. So I'm really not quite sure what exactly I'm supposed to cry about, except maybe the acting abilities of Miz's parents. If those two are the legit Mr. and Mrs. Mizanin, his dad didn't give a fuck and his mom was overacting, so somewhere in the middle there's some, I don't know. But this was done great. I like what they did at the end of this thing too. I know I'm kind of stumbling. I'm tired. I just, like I say, just got off work, so this is how you guys get me right now. The chair spot with Miz's head and what Randy Orton did to it. We've seen it before. You know, somebody gets their head in a chair and, you know, they step on it. Or Randy Orton does the punt. Or, you know, somebody gets their head in the chair and thrown into the thing. I haven't, to my recent memory, seen a running knee drop to the chair done quite the way they did. And it's very intriguing the way they did. And there's no way they could have pulled it off completely safely. And yes, it's perfectly obvious that Orton missed the chair and missed The Miz by a country mile, as some people would say. Now, I find it really funny that people are blaming The Miz for that. I've seen people on Twitter and on YouTube blaming The Miz for botching that spot, where Miz is already ragdolled. Miz is the one that's so incapacitated that he can't, you know, pull his head out of the chair and get out of the way. He's supposed to sit there and do nothing. If you can hear that, it's because there are people warming up a band practice in the other room. The joys of, you know, not being home alone. It's Miz's job to be a ragdoll. It's Miz's job to be there lifeless on the mat while Randy Orton does whatever he does to him. Now, all the credit in the world to Randy Orton. He's coming back, he's being exciting, vicious Randy Orton. But if he misses The Miz and the chair that's like this big squared with that knee shot, does the blame not fall on Randy Orton? I know it's the popular thing to not like The Miz, and some of you do it just because Mark Pearson tells you to, and you go, meh, okay. But, like, really explain to me the logic of how missing that spot or botching that spot or that spot not being perfect is The Miz's fault. Oh no. And if Miz is out for a while, that means he's going to get a raucous return like Cody Rhodes is going to get. So you ain't getting rid of The Miz. I'm just saying, guys, sorry about that. And if you are going to go cry about that, go for it. I'm not. Moving on. Lost my place. Heyman comes out, cuts a great promo, says he pinned CM Punk, making him the new best in the world. Of course. Looks up to Ryback in almost like this godlike, I'm in love with you aspiration, and then it turns into weirdness. He calls him a beautiful man and kisses him. And even Axel at that point is like, fuck this, I'm out. I don't know. Paul Heyman is fantastic. He just is. But Ryback is an anchor, and I mean it's an anchor on the Titanic. So he's the next, like I said in my last video, he's the filler until Brock Lesnar gets back, and I guess that makes sense. He's a really, really, really like Saturday morning slam version of Brock Lesnar, I guess. I I'm really going at it at this point from a let's see how this goes thing. Now, next match we have is the Usos versus Tons of Funk versus the Real Americans in an elimination triple threat tag team match for the #1 contendership for the WWE Tag Team Championships. Now, looking at this, you know the Usos are going to win. Going into the pay-per-view, you knew either the Usos or the Primetime Players were going to win. The Primetime Players got their win on the big stage because, you know, one of them is Darren Young, let's be honest. Now it's the Usos' turn. My phone is doing things. There's band practice over there doing things. This video's gonna suck, isn't it? The Usos win. It's fine. It's wonderful. You know, Tons of Funk aren't going to win, and the Real Americans are only going to get involved in the title picture when the title match itself is a triple threat match. So this is all good. And like I said, we're flexing the muscle of the emerging tag team division, which is great. The main event is Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns. The Shield are around the outside. Roman Reigns is, you know, he's the power guy going up against the technical guy. Randy Orton comes out, you know, to watch. Oh, sometime before this, we get the announcement that Scott Armstrong's been fired, and Triple H says he's going to take care of him. So there's your corporate referee. Eventually, Orton gets involved. I don't know what this is actually called. I don't know whether it's just ended or whether, you know, somebody wins by disqualification or whatever. It's a bullshit ending. Let's just say it is what it is. Daniel Bryan gets a 4-on-1 beatdown from Randy Orton and the Shield. Randy Orton is about to do the same chair spot that he did to The Miz to Daniel Bryan when Daniel Bryan gets help. Now, let me say this, too. If it wasn't for Miz selling the chair spot earlier in the night, we wouldn't have gotten the, oh my god, he's going to do it to Daniel Bryan, too, at the end of the night, would we? So let's, you know, chalk up another one for The Miz. Moving on. Daniel Bryan gets all kinds of help, but the group of people that comes down to help him is literally the people that aren't really doing much else. You got the Zack Ryders and Justin Gabriel, who we haven't seen forever, and, you know, the Usos are there, Ziggler's there. Nobody even close to a main event scene is there in the slightest, which is, it's interesting. It's like, let's throw these guys all out there at the end of the show because they have nothing else. Let's throw all these guys out there that the past couple of weeks would have been in that big group just standing on the stage watching Daniel Bryan get his ass kicked. Now they actually get to get involved. They actually get to earn their paycheck. You know, any other mean thing I could possibly say. CM Punk, not on the show. Apparently, and you know, it's kind of obvious when you watched the pay-per-view on Sunday, but he had some sort of laceration on his back when Ryback put him through the table, which is understandable. You're breaking wood, even though if it's breakaway wood, there are edges and angles and all that sort of thing. So CM Punk wasn't on the show. Don't know whether that was planned or whether that was because of the injury, but it is what it is. And everybody, and I agree to a certain extent, but everybody is saying that Battlegrounds is going to be a big turning point pay-per-view. I won't get excited about Battlegrounds until they tell me what Battleground is. Is that fair? Like, is it going to be the War Games from WCW? Is it going to be, you know, an Armageddon Hell in the Cell match, as some people have suggested? It's going to decide the held-up WWE Championship, one way or the other, which makes it important. But if it's another type of thing, like when they announced the Elimination Chamber or when they did something like that, but if it's just another generic B pay-per-view with a new name, why does it matter? That's all I've got. Guys, Raw, much like Night of Champions, didn't do a whole lot of exciting things, but it progressed a lot of things along, and this is the kind of show we need. This is the kind of filler we need to bind all the big oh my god events together. So even though it wasn't like stellar, even though it wasn't, you know, off the cuff crazy, it did what it was supposed to do, and I liked this show. Anyways, I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. The noise is getting louder and louder and louder, so I'm going to say subscribe down there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all these conversations going. Look in the box below and find all the different ways you can talk to me. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I'm tagging out. Bye, guys.